After being heavily criticized over the free agents they picked last summer, the NBA team, the New York Knicks' new star-hunting ways through the trade market may bring critiques at ease and help them find the star they've been looking for. So, after scouring the internet for hours, we present you with the best trade packages. First up, Terry Rozier gets another chance. Most NBA teams don't view Rozier as much of a player, but that isn't the case with the Knicks, as the team seemed pretty comfortable when they chose Charlotte Hornets' Terry Rozier and D'Angelo Russell as their future first-round picks for 2020's trade deadline. We don't think that the Knicks need to give up on Rozier, keeping in mind the $56.7 million three-year contract he has had with the Charlottes since his first official season. Devontae Graham's surprising performance led to the Hornets using their undersized point guards, resulting in a negative 6.0 net rating. Charlotte would take pride in having Graham with them and scoot Rozier someplace else and get whatever they can. And since Rozier seems worthy in the Knicks' sight, such a deal clearly benefits both teams. When Rozier comes into action while Graham is on the benches, Charlotte sees the true point guard that it hoped for from Rozier. When he runs points, his assist percentage doubles. However, his turnover package doesn't differ even if the passing increases. In their search for their current season's point guard, the Knicks went ahead with Elfrid Payton, Ntilikina, and even Dennis Smith. But none turned out to be their beacon of hope. If Charlotte does replace Rozier, it allows it to get their hands on a better and taller defender standing next to their 6'1" Graham, such as Ntilikina, whose potential, if used to the fullest, can open doors for Charlotte, or 21-year-old rookie Brad Zakis, who can make the basketball court his. Even if New York likes Rozier, it should still consider not giving up a first-rounder to take him on board. Next, the Knicks on Blake Griffin. Did you know that the 2019-2020 season was the most horrifying one for Blake Griffin? Was he only able to play 18 games before he got knee surgery? If that's the case, then why do you think the Knicks are so interested in him? The Detroit Free Press reported that since the player had his surgery back in January, it would allow him enough time to recover and would be all set to kickstart the new season whenever it happens. The 31-year-old has an outstanding portfolio and is just a year away from becoming an all-star. The player has an average of 24.5 points, 5.4 assists, 7.5 rebounds, and much more. His durability was also matched when across 75 games he averaged a total of 35 minutes. No wonder the Knicks have their eyes on him. Since the Detroit Pistons are dumping players Reggie Jackson and Andre Drummond, the price for Griffin won't be that much, also because his 2-year, $7.58 million contract doesn't go well with the Pistons team. Detroit placed Drummond for a couple of expiring contracts. Rather than flinging Pistons' perception of accepting these expiring contracts, just as they did with Drummond, the New York Knicks can keep hold of its core talent and first-round picks. Surprisingly, removing Drummond from the roster would benefit the Pistons, would mean them getting rid of one of its biggest deals and adding young players, 26-year-old Payton and 25-year-old Sportest, who are good enough for a rebuild. The Knicks can get their hands on an amazing deal with Griffin's price is as low as it could be, and a plus point for them is that his health will have stabilized by the time the new season sets in, bringing the best out of Blake Griffin. Next, a new culture brought to you by Chris Paul. Frank Isola from The Athletic stated that the Knicks have been gathering information about Paul and that there's a probability of them making him one of their own. So it's safe to say that Paul must be another guard that the Knicks have been hunting. Paul is a future Hall of Famer, and the 34-year-old is considered one of the NBA's best point guards. Regardless of his age, the All-Star player's shots and passing abilities have seen no breaks, especially this season. His portfolio brags 1.6 steals, 4.9 rebounds, 17.7 points, and more. In the West Conference, his captaincy and production have placed the Thunder into a superior 40-24 record. The Knicks must experience these on and off court changes as they'll help improve the league's perception right before the New Year's free agency hits. If Paul's fans and followers see him paving the way for a new culture in New York, this just might be enough for the Knicks to put themselves back on the premier free agents destinations list. But there's just one obstacle, and that is Paul's contract. Paul is due with $41.4 million for the upcoming season and $44.2 million for the 2021-22 season, which is alarming for those in their mid-30s. However, this could be the reason behind trading Paul based on similar salaries and not letting go of the draft picks and young talent that swarms all around. Sending 4 expiring contracts contracts to the Thunder could ruin the team's chance to feature in the 2021 playoffs. But it also means rubbing off a $44 million salary off of OKC's books. If the Knicks are ready to take such a risk, then adding Paul to the team for a while could help fix New York's culture. Now, other similar trades. Kevin Love, Andre Drummond, 2-in-1 dream team. Now, who would trade one All-Star if two are already available in their right minds? While Cleveland is busy manifesting their rebuild, the Knicks didn't take much to pick up a pair of bigs with 7 All-Star trips between them. According to the ESPN's Mark Stein and Chris Haynes, Kevin Love beautifully combined outside shooting and rebounding and a championship experience 3 years after the Knicks wanted to trade him with Carmelo Anthony. Love should become a part of the Knicks, considering that his girlfriend, Kate Block, lives there, and Love is often seen spending his off-season days there. The Athletic and Stadium's Shams Charania reported that the Knicks were also looking into Drummond before he was given to Cleveland before the deadline. Drummond led the NBA with a 15.2 per game rebounding for the 4th time in 5 years. Both players averaged 17.0 points per game in the prevailing season. Such a number would easily rise with a pass-first point guard. Next, Zach LaVine and the Knicks. With new vice president Arturas Karnisovas in town and already taking control of the Bulls, we're unsure which of Chicago's players are safe on the roster. So New York should not hesitate to see if LaVine is vacant. This season, LaVine played most of his time at small forwards, which means that concern shouldn't arise if the 25-year-old fits with shooting guard RJ Barrett. LaVine has had a smooth career with his profile shows 1.5 steals, 25.5 points, 4.2 assists, 4.8 rebounds, and shooting from 3% to 38%. LaVine is also under a serene contract of $19.5 million a season for the upcoming years. Draft picks and young talent would more likely compensate the Chicago Bulls if they wish to bring in their own players for a new front office. The Knicks can send 2 2020 players to the Bulls, keep their own selection for this season, and still be left with numerous picks to offer. Smith Jr. and Knox have struggled a lot this year, but since they are young, they have the potential to turn into star players. In addition, New York has great first-round picks with whom they can easily strike a deal without having to include players like Barrett. And if LaVine and Barrett are set together, they can make an exceptional 1-2 scoring duo. Up next, Zion Williamson and the New York Knicks. It seems as if Zion Williamson has been destined to be a part of the New York Knicks ever since he entered the NBA world. After the lottery order was announced back in 2019, the Knicks fans raged havoc, and it was as if the odds were not in their favor. However, what comes next is history. The Knicks got hold of the 3rd pick and chose Williamson's teammate, RJ Barrett. Although Williamson's reaction to being a part of the Big Easy raised doubt that there must have been something brewing in the past that resulted in such a reaction from the player, the Knicks have no choice but to be happy with what they got. Still, unlike his teammate, Barrett hasn't shown much performance on the court, but hey, unlike Williamson, at least Barrett is part of the New York Knicks and mostly on the court, and that's mainly because Williamson has been on the list of injuries received than he has been in the starting lineup. This trade brings about a fair deal for both teams. We can expect a more profitable means to draft monetary resources for Williamson, which does seem fair. Still, if we look into Williamson's health history, his trade worth may have diminished. Meanwhile, the Knicks dream of pairing both Williamson and Barrett due to their pre-existing chemistry. This would be the perfect team for them. That's a wrap for this video. See you in the next one.